if you went in tomorrow to work and you told them, hey, I got another job, I'm done. You told them that you were quitting, whatever the reason is. I'm like, are they cool with that or are they panicking? Are they accepting the fact that you're moving on? They're just like, okay, well, it's been nice. Or are they freaking out and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? If you are in a position and they know it, where if you walk out the door tomorrow, somebody in the company, the rest of their day is literally solving that problem, and the problem is you aren't working there anymore, you're in a good spot to ask for a raise. I'm going to be a little vague on details here just because of the subject matter, and I want to preserve anonymity as much as possible. Somebody close to me in my life recently started working a new job. They haven't been at this job for very long, like just over 2 months, like still very new into it. But basically, over the course of working at this job, a bunch of new responsibilities have been thrown their way. They've been kicking ass at the job. They've basically like restructured the entire team. They got to a point to where they're like, I think I should be getting paid more for what I'm doing. Now that I've been here for 2 months and they've really seen what I'm capable of, they've seen what I've done to the team, what I've done to team morale, they're like, I think I'm in a position where I can negotiate a raise. So they told me everything and basically said, I'm going to ask for a raise. This is the first time I've ever asked for a raise, so I'm very nervous about it, but I want to know your thoughts. And they told me how much they were going to ask for. I basically told them that is not the raise you should be asking for. But we'll just use nice, even numbers. Let's say they're making $100,000 a year. And they're like, I think I'm going to ask for 120. I told them, you should ask for double that. And they're like, what? Are you crazy? I can't ask for double that. That's like, I already feel bad enough asking for a $20,000 raise on top of the 100 that I was making, and you're telling me to ask for 40,000? Like that's a lot. I don't feel comfortable with that. And the first thing I asked them was like, hey, calculate that out. Let's say like your take home pay right now. Calculate that raise, find out how much your paychecks are going to be with that raise. And they did it. And I'm like, okay, it's not that much, right? And they're like, yeah, like I'm like, it's not so substantial that you're actually going to notice this. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so that's the first problem. You're asking for a raise. And if you get the raise, like, sure, you're obviously going to notice it when you see that direct deposit hit. But it's not so much that you're like, oh, things have kind of changed. It's just a little bit more money each paycheck. So I was like, now double what you're going to ask for and run those numbers. They ran those numbers and they're like, okay, that looks nice. I like the numbers that I'm seeing there. And it basically came out to, if they were to get that raise, that they were essentially going to be getting, I think, like another month's worth of income per month. So every month, their take home pay is essentially another month's rent, right? Significant. You're going to notice that. I understand your hesitation to ask for this raise, especially when you came up with your number. You're like, this is how much more I would want to get paid. Excuse the green screen hiding my hand. You're like, this is how much more I want to get paid, and I just told you to double it. I get your hesitation, but I was like, ask yourself this question, and this gets to the when to negotiate a raise. Because I think a lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people negotiate a raise at some arbitrary point in time. They're like, I've been at this company for a year now. I guess I'll ask for a raise. And then they go into their manager or whoever it is that decides this. They're like, hey, I want to talk about a raise. And they're like, okay, why do you deserve a raise? Well, I've been here for a year. I've been loyal. I think I've put in some good work. I think I deserve a raise. It's like time is your selling point. Don't use a arbitrary point in time to determine when you're going to ask for a raise. Waiting at a year, I'm not going to say you're never going to get it. You might, But to just set this arbitrary point in time and be like, I've been here for a year, I want to talk about a raise, like, don't do that. Like I said, this person asked for it after 2 months. That's 5 times 4, 20, 40 days, really, of work days. When you should ask for a raise, and I think there are 2 big moments that I can think of that are worth asking for a raise. There are others. If you can think of them, like, leave a comment below, let me know. But when I just think about the 2 where I'm like, you're pretty solid in making your case, number 1, when you're indispensable. And I told this person to ask themselves this question. I said, ask yourself, if you went in tomorrow to work and you told them, hey, I got another job, I'm done. You told them that you were quitting, whatever the reason is. I'm like, are they cool with that? Or are they panicking? Are they accepting the fact that you're moving on? They're just like, okay, well, it's been nice. Or are they freaking out and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And that person was like, yeah, they'd be freaking out. They would definitely be freaking out. I know I've only been here for 2 months, but if I left tomorrow, it would be a company-wide discussion. Whether, like, how do we get this person to stay? Or if I already left and I was like, there's no way you can keep me, they're like, we got to do something. Like, because now this person is gone, our team is kind of fucked. So that was the first thing. I was like, you're in a good spot there. If you are in a position, and they know it, where if you walk out the door tomorrow, somebody in the company, the rest of their day is literally solving that problem, and the problem is you aren't working there anymore, you're in a good spot to ask for a raise. Just ask yourself that question every once in a while at work. If I walked out today, is my manager, is my team, is the company, if you're at a really big company, obviously you can't speak in company terms. You might need to speak in department terms or team terms. But if I left the company today, is my team freaking out? Is my department like, fuck, we just lost that person? If the answer to that question is yes, it might be worth considering having a raise conversation. If the answer is no, you're dispensable. Nobody cares, right? The second time that I think you should really consider asking for a raise is when you gain new responsibilities. If you've been working at a company for a while, I don't know, let's use software development because that's the world that I'm in. I get hired on to be a software developer. I'm doing my day-to-day work. I'm, doing this and that. And then let's say something else comes about. We hire a junior developer. They're like, hey, do you want to shadow or mentor this person? Let them shadow you, get them onboarded. And it's not just like a day's worth of work, but like, hey, you're probably going to have to mentor this person for like the next couple of months. If your job now has new responsibilities, that is the second time to really consider asking for a raise. Because 1, your actual job changed, but 2, odds are that you're not like removing work. They're not like, okay, now you're only going to do 6 hours of software development and 2 hours of mentoring. Odds are they're going to kind of expect that you're doing the job you were doing plus the new stuff that you're doing. So that's the second time to ask for a raise. You literally have changed your job. But going back to the example of the person I was talking to, they fit both requirements. They were both indispensable, which they themselves acknowledged, and in that 2 months, they got new responsibilities. I'm like, congratulations. You are in a prime spot to ask for a raise. And not only that, I think you're going to get it. Companies seem financially healthy. Not a lot of people work at the company. So I'm like, honestly, I think you're good. And this is why you should double what you're asking for. You're in a position where you have leverage. Took them a bit of convincing. And I even told them, I'm like, look, if you're nervous, this is normal. This is why people don't ask for raises. This is why people wait for the company to give them a raise. They're like, well, it's January 1st again. Inflation went up 3%. Here's your 3% raise. And then they're just like, okay, thanks. I was like, most people do that. I was like, what you're doing is abnormal. People don't do it, especially when they're shooting high. But they did it. They went with my number. They doubled the number that they were going to ask for. And guess what? They got it. They were freaking out. Not only did they get it, it was like a snap yes. There wasn't even a discussion. There wasn't even a, well, thank you for making your case. I'll think about this and get back to you in an email later on next week. None of that. On the call. They got it.